Welcome to another episode of the Wild Strength Podcast, where we talk about all things wild and all things strength related and everything in between. Today, my guests are Bree and Brittnie Curley. They are twins if you're watching the video and you can't tell, and if you are just listening, they are twins. I'm going to play the walk-up song that Bree chose. It is Dirt Cheap by Cody Johnson. She said herself, maybe not walk-up song vibes, but it is her current favorite song, and I would agree it's a good one. So we're going to start with just maybe 20 seconds of it. Oh yeah, it does start very slow.
Oh yeah.
They came in thinking top dollar. That old cotton crop farm. They knocked on his screen door and he said, Lord, what you need, boy?
I'm also starting a playlist with all of the walk-up songs on there, so that's going to be on there. And if anyone goes and listens to it to hear some sweet walk-up songs, you're going to get sad country music on there, which is my personal favorite. Anyways, like I said, I have Bree and Brittnie Curley on here. Brittnie is actually my first guest on here that I've never actually met before, but I have met Bree and we're good friends, and I'm really excited to have Brittnie on here, and she will kind of, who knows what we get into. I always have lots of good questions. James, why are you playing with the lighting so much?
Yes, there's a lot going on behind the scenes over here.
Oh, geez. I always have lots of questions for people when I meet them the first time, so who knows where the conversation goes. But Bree, if you want to give maybe a short introduction since you've been on here before, and then Brittnie, I'll let you introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, super short because I've done it before, but Bree in California, part of Bow Disciples. We met Whitney. James met her a year before I did at a TAC event, and then we went out to San Antonio. She was like, stay at my house. And ever since then, we were friends. So, been a wild time. But yeah, that's it. Brittnie?
Yes, I'm Brittnie from the OG hometown, Florida, and I'm out visiting Brianna in California, actually meeting James for the first time in person.
Oh, wow.
By day, I work at the sheriff's office. Actually, I work nights, so by night, I work at the sheriff's office, and I also hunt. So we have our own channel, Archery Shepherds, and so I think this weekend we'll be featuring a little twin action for the first time on the old Bow Disciples. So that's, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of my life right now. Background, I've been hunting about as long as Brianna. I think I got into it about 1 year before she did. And today was funny because I actually got Brianna into archery. And when I first taught her, I'm right-handed and right-eye dominant, and she couldn't do it. So I taught her with an eye patch. And today at the range, we kind of threw it back, and she wanted to try my Matthews, so we put an eye patch on her. So it was kind of fun to.
Yeah, how'd that go?
We won't say.
We learned that though we have the same draw length, we have the same, we can pull the same poundage for the most part. We have the same size arrows. Well, they're the same cut length, but we differ on arrows, but all of that is the same. But facial structure, I learned, is not the same. So where peep is,
those types of things are different. But there's
a lot of stuff going on to try to line everything up.
The vibes for the Matthews Prima were.
It is nice. I'm not gonna
say anything about Bowtech, but.
It is.
I had a buddy back when I was in Texas who they had got the new Eva Shockeys in when they first came out, right before I moved out here to Colorado. And I went into the shop. He didn't know I was left-handed, so he was like, well, try a right-handed one out. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll try and see what it feels like. I cannot pull back the same amount of weight with my right hand as I can with my left hand. It was a lost cause, so I didn't even really get to give it a good rating or review because I couldn't even pull it back, really.
Yeah, definitely what we did today would not be considered safe by any means. For the most part, I just held the bow in place while Brittnie drew it from both ends for me.
Oh, perfect.
She also has a good 4 pounds on me right now in her bow, so nice. I can't even draw 46 on a right-handed bow, which is the same as mine left-handed, so 50 was not happening. But Brittnie did say you had something interesting like about the Eva the other day when you said like 50 pounds in comparison. You shot all the women's bows.
So I really like to test like all the women's bows when they come out, and the I can pull the Elite Allure at 50. It's got a really pretty stout draw cycle. You feel all of the weight pretty much throughout until you get into that valley. And Elite has those limb stops, and they're just known for that valley sitting really deep, and they have just dead stop.
Shout out to Elite.
And so
I shoot one. I love it.
yes, yeah, me too. I don't shoot Elite, but I love Elite, and I would. But anyways, that's for a different time. So the Elite Allure I can pull 50. The Matthews Prima I can pull 50. Most of the like the RX series I can pull 50 if it's set up, for my specs. But that Bowtech Eva Shockey Gen 3, it's not saying in any way that it's a bad bow. Everybody's got their thoughts and opinions of what they like and don't like, but I cannot pull it at 50 pounds. I had to back it out, I think, 2 turns, and I was just kind of surprised. It's got a lot of the weight up in the front, and then it really doesn't back off. I will say, as it turns over, it's got a really smooth like transition into your valley, but just different strokes, different folks. It wasn't for me.
Yeah, I use that phrase all the time. That's hilarious. No, I like that you've kind of mentioned the different like women's bows, because when I first got a bow, shoot, I guess it's been almost 4 years now. Time flies. That was the only time I've ever shot like a women's specific bow, and even then I left with it was Matthews V3 was the first bow that I got. And I like obviously the first time shooting a bow, I didn't know what I'm looking for. I don't know what I'm feeling for. I don't know what feels good. I think I just got like I'm right-handed, so I originally started trying out right-handed bows, quickly realized that I'm left-eye dominant, so I needed to shoot with my left hand. And I also have a very hyperextended elbow, so when I was shooting, like this just shows you how badly I wanted to be good at it. I would slap my arms so bad all the time. Like I think the first time maybe even Bree and James came out, I was wearing an arm guard like the whole tack event because I would slap my arms so bad, and if I didn't have one, it was going to be terrible. But yeah, I just got to a point when I was trying out different bows where I was like, I'm just tired of slapping my arm. So this is the last bow that I tried. This is the one I'm leaving with. Like, I don't want to try anymore. But I hear more and more, and like maybe you can talk a little bit more about some of the models. I don't know what you can and can't talk about. But that the women's bows are evolving and they're becoming better. And I think like women are like, one thing for me was I was able to pull back 50 when I first started. And so when I walk in, like I'm relatively a small person. And so they're like, women's bow for you, like low weight, low poundage, short draw length. You need a women's bow. And quite honestly, I was a little offended. And like, not that there's anything wrong with having a women's bow. I'm not shitting on a women's specific bow. I was just like, I want a bow. I don't want it to be for one gender or the other. But I hear that they're coming out with some really good women's ones.
Yeah, there are some really great women's bows out there, and I agree. Just because you're a woman does not mean that you have to shoot a women's model bow. A lot of the time, it has to do with like what you said, specs. Because the average women's draw length kind of sits around that like 26-inch mark, and then obviously there's over and under with that. But the women's bows will tend to go down to those shorter draw lengths and those shorter poundages, which on average, a lot of women, when you walk into a shop, and that's what they are built for. And that's great. So every shop is going to stock one of whatever model they sell women's bow. And what a lot of archery shops don't stock are the 40-pound RX series bows, and the Matthews this year can go down to the 24.5 inches, which is a huge deal for Matthews, not having had a bow that goes down that short in their flagship line. They've got their women's Prima, they've got their women's Image, which is a whole nother story. The women's Image, I think, is more like a older gentleman's bow looking for that lower poundage. They cut out, now they only get down to 25.5 inches, which cuts out a lot of women in that 24.5 and under specs. So I wasn't a big fan of that when Matthews did that, but now their new lift, which is not a women's bow, it's a flagship, has a 55-pound mod option. So you can actually back it out to 45, which is what a lot of women are pulling, and you can shoot it at 24 and a half inches. So it's one of the first times that I've seen Matthews offer a flagship that is not a women's bow, but that a women with smaller specs, lower specs, shorter specs can shoot. There's other options out there. The Ember, Elite Ember, which is not a women's specific bow, but is a really good option for women. The new Bear Adapt, it's on the little bit higher end of the poundage. Like you can't back it out quite as much, but a lot of women can shoot that bow because of the draw length specs and options. But that's an incredible out the door, ready to hunt package for someone who's kind of on a budget option. So there's tons of options out there, but what you walk into sometimes when you walk into a shop is those flagships that are not available in those lower poundages because they just don't sell off the racks, like the 29-inch draw with the 70-pound option.
That's me.
On the mods.
So my bow right there.
Yeah, from a sales perspective, I get it. Why options are more limited for women when you're wanting to walk into a shop and say, I want to try everything. I don't just want to try the women's bows. And it's not always an option from the sales perspective because a lot of shops just don't stock them because they don't fly off the shelves.
And then add being left-handed.
Add being left-handed to that, I feel for the lefties. I don't know how you guys do it.
I know. Shop to shop to like try to find one bow at a time that maybe they have it in left hand because otherwise, like even the bow and arrow shop, they did when the new Gen 3 came out, but it came obviously in right-handed. So it was like, oh, let's, film the video and whatnot so we can show the bow and, compare and everything. When the new bows came out, I can't shoot it though. So it was like James had to, pull back.
Yeah, that's when I was first looking for bows, oh my goodness, I feel a sneeze coming on and my nose is burning. When I was first looking for a bow, like the different shops I would go to, like I remember I was living in like the Fort Worth area at the time. One shop I went into only had one left-handed bow, period, and it was like 70-pound limbs, all of this. Found another. I called every shop in the area, and I ended up driving like 2.5 hours for a shop that had 3 or 4 left-handed bows that I could try because I was like, I'm not going to go to one shop and get the one left-handed bow that they have. So being a lefty sucks. And I won a bow in a giveaway like
James told me about that.
Yeah, like 4 months ago now. And what ended up happening was the bow that they had to give away was a right-handed bow. And so the guy reached out to me. He was like, oh, what are your specs, all of this? And I sent it to him and he's like, you're a lefty? So yes. And he's like, well, now that means I have to get a left-handed model of this. And they didn't have it in the shop already. So it was a PSE Fortis actually, and PSE stopped making the Fortis for next year's flagship bow, so they couldn't get a left-handed one. So then they were in this waiting period of what the hell are we going to give her because we can't now get a left-handed Fortis. But I'm going to end up getting the PSE Carbon Levitate, which I'm kind of stoked about. We'll see how that goes. It finally came into the shop. They're going to try to like put it together based on the specs of my current bow. So that way, by the time it gets to me, it's already ready to shoot. And it should.
So are you just going to start running that one and try it out? Have you shot it before yet or anything?
No, never. Because my shop out here didn't have it in a left-handed. And so I was going to try it out here before it came in just to see how I liked it. Probably if I don't like it, I sell it. Like it'll technically have never been used, and I got it for free. So, we'll see. I don't know. Some people say, "Oh, keep both bows," but I don't want to lug 2 bows around. So, whichever one I don't like, I'll sell.
Just 2. Yeah, she's over here like just 2. She's got a bow shop basically in her house.
I love that.
There's probably, I won't be specific. There's a lot of things in the room. A lot of things. So
wait, how many bows? I have to know how many bows you have then.
Personally?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you add in recurves, 7.
Okay. So do you shoot recurves? Yeah. Do you shoot recurves often?
for fun. I love to shoot recurve for fun. I got a new recurve this year, and I was actually just the way it was set up, the arrow combination and everything. I was shooting it so well that I started thinking, well, maybe this is a reality. I could actually try to hunt with this. So I think next year I might put in a little time trying to get one on the ground with my recurve. It's a thought. It's something I'll probably think about like after tax season is long over and summer rolls around. But yeah, we kind of. I have a target bow, and I have a hunting bow. I'm looking at getting 5. I'm getting there. I'm going down the list. So I have a target bow, a hunting bow. I have a youth bow that I actually purchased. It's a Quest. It's made by Prime, and behind the scenes is too much right now. It's a Prime bow. It's made by Quest, or it's a Quest made by Prime, and it is a kid's bow that I used to relearn my draw cycle like 2 years ago.
Okay.
But now I hold on to it, so when I start kids who have maybe they'll come in, they want lessons on Genesis, and then they get interested. They see everybody else shooting these bows with wheels. And so the Quest is just such an easy little bow to change the draw length settings on and back all the poundage out, that you can kind of teach a kid how to draw a compound bow, how to anchor with one, how to line up the sights. You can slide the peep around. And so I keep that around. And then my recurves and bow fishing rigs, just different setups for different things. It drives me nuts to have my hunting bow is what I use for tack. It's just the fastest bow that I have. But every time I want to set it up for hunting season, I've got to swap arrows, re-sight in. So if everyone's going to the range and all the guys are like, let's go shoot 100 yards, well, I'd have to swap my sight, swap my arrows, retune my bow, and that just drives me nuts. So that's kind of like my next project is to set up a tack specific long distance speed bow, and then something else for hunting season. We'll see. I'm waiting for the mods to come in on the lift 29.5.
Nice. Yeah, that's what someone had mentioned, like because I would go back and forth, like you mentioned. I had a hunting arrow and a tack arrow. My tack arrow was really light, my hunting arrow was a little bit heavier, and it is a pain in the ass to like re-sight in every single time. But I just knew like I didn't want to shoot the same arrow for both. So someone was like, with the new bow that you're getting that you won, like have a hunting arrow or have a hunting bow, have a tack bow, and I might. But I think like I'm slowly, like I'm almost pulling back 60, and I shoot kind of like a hybrid arrow now, like not something that's super heavy like a lot of people like to hunt with, but not something super light like a tack arrow either. And like I'm comfortable shooting that longer distances also. Who knows? Maybe I become that person who has a bunch of them. But I also do, like, I know, and actually a question for you, Brittnie. I know Bree and James don't do a lot of rifle hunting, but I want to get into even just like long range shooting, whether or not I rifle hunt. I have no opinions for or against it, but I really want to get into like long range shooting. Do you ever do any rifle hunting ever?
I don't personally do a lot of rifle hunting anymore. I can't say a reason for why. Honestly, it's just, I guess I'm so comfortable with archery, and it's probably been 2 years since I brought a rifle to the woods with me. And even then, it's kind of just where we hunt, like long range rifle hunting is really not an option. Everything is so wooded and so dense where I live that you don't have food plots, you don't have big open fields. You can sit palmetto flats. That's kind of one of your options for rifle hunting. But I think that's probably the biggest reason is just
that makes sense.
Terrain is why I don't.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And even then, like if I like for the long range shooting, I personally, if I was rifle hunting, I don't think I would shoot anything past 100, maybe 200 yards. Just because like I enjoy the challenge of bow hunting and that I have to get close. And to me, if you're shooting an animal that is like 700 yards away, meh, that's so easy to me. I'm not gonna say easy. Like somebody probably climbed thousands of feet of elevation, like if you've ever watched any sheep hunts, those are crazy, like mountainous terrain that you have to go through. And I understand, like with a lot of those, people's preferred method of choice with those kind of hunts is a rifle. So different
Yeah.
story. But if it's like, yeah, relatively like it's flat, there's not a lot of hiking going on. Meh, 700, 800
Yeah,
yards away.
I feel like there's like difficulty in it in the fact that like it might take them a lot of practice to learn to shoot 700 yards, and there's, I don't know if it's considered math or not, but like the stuff they do with like in order to shoot that far, like that does take very, you know, like high tech scope
Yeah.
and whatnot.
For
But
sure.
once you know how to, it's like after that, where is the difficulty? Other than, you know, maybe the hike up the mountain or things like
For
that. But
sure.
like
Right.
with a bow, I don't know. You know, again, maybe I'll offend some gun hunters here or something, but
Right.
it, even once you learn to be good with the bow, there's still like the difficulty never goes away of a stalk getting
Yeah, for
close,
sure.
like sitting silent in the tree stand or whatever it is. You know, or trying, you know, shooting accurately, and every stalk is different. So maybe you only went 100 yards and happened to come on the animal, or you climbed, you know, up a mountain a mile and
Mm-hmm.
you're winded and exhausted and you have to now draw your bow. Like, I just feel like there's a bit more of a difficulty in the stalk, but that's just my personal opinion. You know, gun hunters be gun hunters. I'm just not one.
Yeah, I have absolutely nothing against it whatsoever. Like as I
No.
said, I'm not opposed to it at all. But I personally don't think, like, I have a certain range that I would shoot within if that's what I was doing. Um, but yeah, I feel very much the same. And I don't know, the more I've talked to people though who do the long range shooting, whether it is for hunting or just for like shits and giggles, there is a lot of like math/science that
Yeah.
goes into that, like understanding windage and all of that stuff. It blows my mind. And I'm like, I'm still learning archery. So maybe I don't learn
I'm out.
something else.
Math's involved. I'm out.
Brittnie, so how you said you've been shooting a little bit longer than Bree has. Were you and then you kind of mentioned like you haven't taken a rifle to the woods or a gun to the woods within like 2 years. When did you really become like big into archery to the point, yeah, you have like multiple bows, this is your jam, you know all about it? When would it kind of become like your thing?
The moment I started.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, my first experience hunting was with a gun. It was turkey hunting, shotgun, and from
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a part of the reason why turkey hunting is one of my favorite seasons. Also, is just sentimental. Like it's just how I got into it, and so it's also got its own set of like exciting factors that deer hunting doesn't necessarily have in the southeast, and like the stalk of it and the interaction of it. So I will still gun hunt in turkey season. I'll use a
Shotgun.
huh?
A shotgun.
Yeah, I'll take my 410. So I've not killed a turkey with my bow. It's something that I will play with, but I enjoy harvesting during turkey season so much that I haven't messed with.
I harvested. It's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. So maybe down the line. Anywho, and I would that year that I started hunting, the season was kind of like right around the corner. There wasn't enough time to really learn how to harvest with a bow. It's one thing to learn how to shoot with a bow, but how to take a life of an animal with a bow, and I wasn't ready to do. So that first year I didn't archery hunt. I just gun hunted. And then the second year, I spent all year kind of like learning how to shoot well. And I was just immediately, I think I just have that like addictive personality to things and a competitive personality too. So from there, it was like all archery all the time. We dog hunted too, and I always enjoyed that like at the time. And I'm all for dog hunters and the Dog Hunter Association. And if that's your method of harvest, I have no quarrels with that whatsoever. I know that's a whole other category and conversation that people enjoy beating up, but to each their own. And then I would say I took about a 1 or 2 year hiatus where I stopped shooting. and I just had some life changes. I was moving, and then once I picked my bow back up, it became like a hardcore want to have something for every opportunity, and just became really wanted to get more serious about the competitive side of things with the ASA and target shooting, outdoor 3D stuff. So that's where I picked that up, and yeah, it's just been an addiction of mine since the moment that I started.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. I laugh whenever you mention one. I also have a very addictive personality, so same. It was like I picked one up and like wasn't interested in anything else for the longest time. You mentioned like you actually like harvesting a turkey during turkey season. I was at the gym the other day, and I like on my water bottle have a couple of stickers that are like archery or hunting related. And a guy was like not too far from me, saw one, was asking me about hunting and archery and all that stuff, and he was like, have you ever got a turkey with your bow? And I was like, not for lack of effort, that's for sure. I've tried. I haven't gotten one yet though.
Yeah, I think it's because I don't turkey hunt out of a blind very often. Usually during turkey season, it's a lot of call and stalk, and just that, trying to get as close as you can game. And so a lot of the times there isn't time to set up a blind or make sure you're really concealed, as you just get as backed up to a tree and as kind of like as low as you can. And the idea of trying to get drawn back on a turkey without getting pegged, I don't know. So I did
Not
a little
without a blind.
I did a little
Even then, it
fall.
was hard.
Yeah, I did a little fall turkey hunting this year with a blind, and if the opportunity had presented itself, it might have worked out, in a blind. But for the kind of running gun scenarios, I'm all about just bringing my 410.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I'm curious. I know you also do like reviews and stuff like that, and you actually work specifically with the women's clothing hunting brand as well. Have you tried out different women's brands, or is that really just like one that you kind of bought into and really liked from early on? It's Prois. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Prois. Yeah. Some people say that because they see the spelling and it's PRO and then the I, it's got the little like
The logo part of it.
yeah. So some people think it's supposed to be Preuss, and some people think it's supposed to be, I forget
Like
the other
pros.
pronunciation is. People think it is sometimes. But if you ever listen to the CEO Kirsty talk, she always pronounces it Prois. So
Good. I said it right.
that's just what we. Yeah. It actually has to do with the Greek. Meaning of it is the reason it's spelled the way that it is, but it doesn't have anything to do with the way that we pronounce it. Everybody at Prois just calls it Prois. But before Prois, I would say, like, when I first started hunting, it was so frustrating to walk in and out of Bass Pro, and there would be very limited. Granted, it has gotten so much better,
Yeah.
but 10 years ago, it was so frustrating, and I would just wear baggy boys' clothes, like passed down from something that some boy wore when he was 12 and fits me now. So that's how it started off. And then I went on a Kentucky hunt where I had to buy like some warm camouflage, and I bought a bunch of the She brand stuff. And I will say it was incredibly warm, it was incredibly comfortable. And so I'm not knocking the She brand at all. They've recently done some rebranding with their logo and design, and I think it looks fantastic. And so to each their own when it comes to what fits best and what feels best to you. I tried the DSG brand, just a couple of their products. I honestly couldn't tell you what it stands for. Something girls.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can find it. So, and I found that there's stuff with kind of like a little bit oversized, and too oversized. That could also, again, be my stature. I'm 5 feet tall, so it was loose, it was long, and I didn't love it. So then I found Prois and I tried it, and the moment that I took it out of the package, where I hunt, in the fall, it can be 95 degrees most days out of the hunting season. So when people in the Midwest are like, "Oh, it's 75. I'm not going out today. It's still too hot." I'm like,
that was me in Texas.
yeah. So it'll be 95, and the moment I took Prois out of the package, it was so light and so soft, and it just I've never felt anything better.
Doing something great.
Doing something great doesn't stand for girls at all. DSG
I said Dick's Sporting Goods.
Makes
Makes sense.
But yeah, so the moment I felt Prois and I felt how light it was, and then I bought some of their warm stuff for Alabama and Mississippi, and it's incredibly warm, but it's not quite as bulky as some of the She brand stuff. And again, that was years ago. The She brand may have changed, some of that since then.
Your Florida's showing.
But the Prois brand, I love it. That the community of women too that you get into, if you're the social media type and you buy into that, you have Facebook or you have Instagram, they are some of the most real and down to earth women that you will ever meet. Again, not that some of the other brands aren't, but they're just some really hardcore, really funny ladies. There's a lot of opportunities too once you get into Prois. They host a lot of sweepstakes and giveaways and hunts and things like that are awesome opportunities for women as well when you're looking for a community to
that's awesome.
Get into hunting with.
That's kind of what I've noticed.
That's Prois.
Yeah, I found them on, I think, Instagram like not long ago, and then I realized that you wore their camo as well. And it just looks like they highlight everyone, and like whether or not you're like on their pro staff or just like wearing their clothing, wearing their camo, like it seems really good. And I'm not like I don't own anything of theirs, so I'm speaking to them from just what I've seen. But there's also other brands that I feel like the kind of women that they have are just the like show offy, like big titty women. And not that there's anything wrong with that either. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like it brings people to the brand. It gets people to buy the clothes because I'm sure women are like, I want to look like that, which is cool. I'm not knocking it. But like I appreciate that they show everything, right? And I feel like some brands only show what looks good.
Me as well. And maybe I'll say what you're going to say. I don't know. See if our twin things happening here, not telepathy. The one thing, so like I do have Prois and I have Kuiu.
I was going to ask you too as well.
Yep. And I will say like I've been running Kuiu for a while now, not so much my Prois. And the only like con I'll say to Prois, and maybe it's because I haven't been able to try everything yet. Like every time I go to Brittnie's, I try on new stuff, which is perk of the whole Prois lady here is I get to try it before I buy it. But I think that there could be an improvement in their stockiness, silentness, I guess, of their pants. So I'll have to show you too, because you kept asking me what pant I have, and I'm like, I have no idea. But James comments all the time. It's like, you will not wear those stocking. I won't stock with you. But they have like this rain waterproof layer protected on them that makes them louder that Kuiu does not have on their pants, so they're a lot more silent. But I do love the way Kuiu's women clothes, even though they're not women only or specific, the way they fit.
That's what I've heard about Kuiu.
Yeah, I think they're phenomenal. But I will say, like, the thing I love about Prois is that because it's women specific, they take so much in on what like either their sponsors or like the women who wear their clothes say, and then they take that into consideration. And the next year they've got a line that has completely upgraded. So now they have like the fit, or what are the two styles called? Fit or...
Yes, we have the pursuit fit, and then we have a relaxed fit. And that was something that evolved this year because some women do want a more fitted clothing, and others really like to wear their camouflage loose. And every year Kirsty, the CEO, she sends out an evaluation for the coordinators for each state and takes in all of our input. What did you like about the lines this year? What improvements do you think that we could have done to the line, as well as marketing? What could we have done different? What could we have done better? What did you think about the sales? And they really take the time to take into consideration everything that the coordinators say. And we all try to get feedback from the staffers, the other staffers in the state. And they actually take that into consideration. It's some of the best fitting, in my opinion, women's camouflage. It has some of the most flexibility, especially in our pant line. And
Yeah.
it's just, again, it's to each their own, but I can't say enough nice things about it. One of the things that you said I think is interesting. Anytime you get into something that has a rain protectant, it's got a layer on top of it that's gonna make some amount of noise no matter what. Some maybe more than others. I actually just recently invested in the rain gear from Proas. It's under the, I can never remember if you're supposed to say it, Dionla or Dionla line. Dionala, something like that. It's on the website. And it actually is relatively silent. So I think it's strange that, and I know what she's talking about because I have some of the lightweight pants that make a little bit of that noise when stalking. So I don't know.
I think it's just different. Like, it might sound quiet when you're, walking to your tree stand, but when it's dead silent and there's no wind and every tiny sound matters, it is like
some of that
layeringly noticeable. Maybe like your senses are heightened and whatnot when you're out on a stalk.
For sure.
But
not
the deer can still hear it.
I think there's definitely a certain amount of that like your heightened senses. A lot of it, everything sounds louder than it is, and not downplaying whatever experience that you had. And it's definitely something to like bring up to the product line at the end of this year. But we have so many Western female hunters that are incredibly successful, pronghorn and elk, that it leads me to believe that the noise,
you can still be successful.
Yeah, I mean, you can absolutely be successful in the line despite the noise, but it is something like to bring
I just want a pair without the waterproof is all I'm saying. I just want to get a pair of them because I would wear it. And it's not like you can think like Kuiu pricing versus like what's it, Forlow or which is women specific.
Hunting clothes are expensive no matter what brand you're getting.
Yeah,
there's not one that's like, you just get what you like at the end of the day.
Exactly, and I would wear Proas all of the time if I could just find one pair of their pants that didn't have that rain coat. And not all of them do, so I just know I haven't tried them all. But that didn't have that rain coating on them or what? I feel like James right now. Waterproof. That's what I want. Waterproof coating on them. That took a while to get out, but I would wear them all the time because like the shirts are so lightweight. The down, I will wear, and I'm one of those people, unlike James, who does not like to mismatch my camo. Like me and Matt are out there with our twins and our Kuiu.
I'm queen of mismatched camo, and I was like thinking about that. Funny enough, I was thinking about that earlier for like our hunt in Arizona. I know you like wear like all Kuiu, and I didn't even know you had some Proas stuff. And I have like First Light camo, I have Under Armour camo, I have some
First Light is right in my bank. I would buy it just because I do love their camo.
And my problem is I shouldn't shop this way, but I have picked like specifically like I love First Light's camo, like you said. I've not really tried their pants fit good. They're not my favorite fit ever, so they fit well enough that I'm like, okay, I can move around in them. But like when I was elk hunting this past September, and there were some, I mean, I'm a short shit too. There were some tall like limbs or just like branches that had fallen over that I had to climb over, and I didn't feel very mobile in them. So that's maybe like one downside to the First Light women's pants, but they're really comfortable, and I love their camo. But yeah, I have so many different camos that I'm just like, meh. One day I'll get my shit together.
You and James will be mismatched twins. Me and Matt will be
I'll
over
get my
there.
Shit together one day. Yeah, because Matt will talk to you too, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. We look like twins when we go hunting.
Perfect. I love that.
I'm about to buy their what is it called? Ultra Down. It's like the set. So now they have down pants. I'm gonna be out there looking like the Michelin Man, but I'm gonna be the warmest man in the group. It's really not that cold, but I am literally a giant baby. So when we wake up in the mornings and it's like 31 degrees out, like one day it snowed out there. Didn't last long, but it snowed. And I was frozen. We counted one day in one of the videos. I had like 7 layers on. So
yes.
I will be glassing in my ultra down pants and jacket, but I don't know. I wish like I just want to try more like pieces and parts of Prois because I also love their camo pattern more than I love Kuyu's camo pattern. It's not as bright. I think it blends into like more of a variety of
Cumbre, our Cumbre, which is made by Vale, that pattern is really, I think it stands out in the Western hunting. I found that it was a little bit light when I'm hunting in the Southeast, which everything is really green, really brown. And it was something that a lot of people made comments about. And again, that just speaks to like how much they take in what people say and what women say.
Yeah.
And we all kind of focused on we need something greener. That was kind of the consensus of last year, and it got put in the works. And they came out with a new pattern. We call it Merge, and it's got some really bright green features in it, which works really well down in the pines, down in the palmettos, and I've enjoyed using that down in Florida this year. Now, if I'm hunting like in a swamp where the cypress, those lighter colors, then I'll wear my Cumbre. And honestly, as long as the pattern and Vale's patterns, they do such a phenomenal job. If it's broken up just right, I honestly think the colors are not, they don't mean as much as the pattern means.
Yeah, that's I think that's the general consensus that like most people have told me too. Like the pattern doesn't really matter. Just make sure the colors are. I mean, the animals can't see the pattern anyways. And that's what's important at the end of the day. And they're like, just find colors that blend more with the colors that you're gonna be in. And also,
people now not wearing any camo. Like this is a new hot trend. Is like just wearing your tan shirt with a hoodie and some green pants. Yeah. I'm all for it, but
I always have, if I either have camo pants and a solid top or all camo, or like I have something that's camo on. I've never gone out with all solids. Not that there's anything wrong with that either. I just have like so many solid pairs of pants that I've gotten for like multi purposes. I can wear them hunting or not hunting, that I'm like, I'm just not gonna not wear these, especially when I'm out for 10 days and I like don't have that, like I don't have a whole closet full of camo at the moment. So I pick and choose what I get. Brittany's like, not a problem for me.
if there's anybody who has a lot of everything,
no, I love that. I wish that was a problem.
It's like a shopping center for me. Like I don't ever have to buy anything before I try it at her place first. So she's like, "Oh, I got some extra pants today. You want me to just ship them to you?"
I love that. Let me join in that. I'm gonna be like thing 3, even though I look like neither of you. We'll just call me thing 3.
Right size, you'll fit. It's fine.
I think we're pretty much all the same size.
Yeah,
that's one thing. Yeah, the women's clothing. I know. Even when I first got into it, like first time I went hunting, similar story to you. This older gentleman who I'd like call him my grandpa now. I was literally wearing some of his camo, and he's like twice my height, twice my size. So I have these pants with like a rope around it and this like giant freaking camo sweatshirt. Granted, we're sitting in a blind, so I mean, I don't know how important it is. Mixed opinions on that, I guess. But then very quickly after that, I remember going to like, I think Bass Pro is where I went to look, and I had very limited options and like very limited sizing to choose from. And I was like, what is the deal? Like, maybe this is why women don't hunt. I don't even have clothes to wear. And besides that, I have to wear men's clothes. And even, in the last 2 to 3 years, I've seen so many more women's clothes come out. But at the end of the day, we all know whether it's hunting clothes or not, women's clothing sucks. So just like finding clothes that fit, period, is the biggest hassle.
Yeah, I'm going with the homeless people look these days. James tells me sweatpants and hoodies every day.
Hey, you know what? If you were here, that would be welcomed. That's what everyone wears here. So
yes, we're moving to Colorado.
That's the one thing when I go to San Diego, I feel so underdressed. Everywhere that I go.
Every day out here. Everybody. Like faces done, hair done. I'm like, how many hours every morning do you spend before you even go out the door? No.
Don't have the time or the energy or the effort. And like, once again, absolutely nothing wrong with it. You girls, you ladies look beautiful, and I wish that I knew how to do that because I don't even know how to.
Yeah, but
That's
there's just not, I don't know. I can't spend the time every day. I mean, you do you and you look better for it, but my sweatpants work just fine too.
And they're really comfortable. Brittnie, have you ever hunted much outside of the Southeast?
No.
No. Do you want to?
I have this. I do have this goal to check off every state, all 50 states,
Oh, cool.
and so I have done a really good portion of the Southeast. I think next is moving up into the Carolinas. I've checked off, and the goal is to hunt. I would love to harvest in every state, but sometimes you go and you just don't fill tags, and so I still kind of sort of check it off. Yeah, you're right. Everybody knows that, but I still check it off as like I hunted it.
Yeah.
And like maybe I'll come back if I have the opportunity to try and harvest in that state, but I check it off my list. So now obviously I've checked off Florida, I've harvested in Georgia, I've hunted in Mississippi and Alabama. Both have been really close encounters, but have not been successful. And I've harvested in Kentucky, Tennessee, basically the South. I'd like to start working my way up that East Coast, South Carolina, North Carolina. I'd really love to do Sika deer in Maryland. It's kind of like a big bucket list item for me.
What did you just call it?
Sika?
That's how you say it?
What do you call it?
I thought it was like the brand of clothing. I thought it was Sitka.
That's how I say it, Sitka.
Sometimes I'll say like Sika or something.
Wait, those are in Maryland?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's news to me.
So
I was wanting to do a Sitka Alaska hunt, which would be...
Yeah, that's a bit outside of my budget.
That's one of the things that you just like, fuck it, go for it.
Just
and a once in a lifetime thing. Like, I would never do that every year. I do not have the budget to do that every year. But like, the opportunity comes around, you better believe I'm making it work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we, I think there'll be the opportunity. Brianna and I have talked about trying to set up some stuff in the west side
over to Arizona.
Right. So I could try, to check off some of these western states. And obviously, there's all those Midwest bucket list dream hunts. Everybody wants to check an elk off the list, and everybody wants to check mule deer off the list, and it's all wonderful. But there's a lot of planning and things that go into that. So, and I guess one of my biggest bucket lists would be like caribou. So we'll see. Working on my southeast corner and getting ready to kind of start working up the East Coast, but no, I have not done any hunting on the western side. Honestly, before I flew out here to visit Brianna 3 years ago in California, I had never even been past the Alabama line.
Like in your life period?
In my life, no. I remember flying over a lot of the states and looking down and thinking, what is all of that? And after the fact, I realized it was snow on top of mountains. What?
Mind blown.
What is this? What is that strange, like, looking, like, what are those shapes? Snow on mountains.
That's so funny. I had a good friend in high school, and from Texas. She had never been outside of Texas. And we were driving down to, we were looking at colleges, and Texas Tech is in Lubbock, which is West Texas, and there's more like hills out there, or plateaus, you could even call them if you wanted to. And she was like, mountains! And I'm like, no, sweetie, that is not a mountain. That is not tall enough to be a mountain.
That's everything in San Diego is a mountain.
We were, I think, on the highway, and you just come across those like higher like ridge lines where houses are on top of.
Yeah.
Probably a couple 100 feet.
Yeah.
Or maximum. She's like, look at those mountains. There's houses on those mountains. I'm like, that's just a ridge. That's
just a ridge.
Not a mountain. Not a mountain.
That's so funny. I love
Yeah.
it. There's you should connect her with Elizabeth. She's in Virginia. She
Oh
hunts
yeah.
everything
Yeah,
in
I haven't
Virginia.
checked Virginia off. Well, have I?
Yeah.
No, I have not checked Virginia off the list. I'm just trying to think. I
Virginia.
think I've been through there before, but I've not hunted there.
I love it's beautiful up there too. I do love
Yeah,
it.
Virginia's
Yeah, it
beautiful.
is.
I spent a summer like teaching uh, out in Maryland, but we were kind of back and forth between Virginia and Maryland, and it's just a really, really pretty
Yeah.
area.
What took you to Maryland?
To Maryland was summer camp I was teaching in when I was in college. It was like a Christian summer camp, and I went out there and taught. Somehow they just put me in water sports. I don't know anything about water sports, and this was truly like really just like a retention pond, large retention pond where you taught kids to canoe.
Oh, I
And
was about to say, what kind of water?
right, yeah, yeah, that's it. I taught canoeing. That was the water sports.
Nice.
That's what brought me out to Maryland. That was years ago now, probably
Okay, nice.
12,
Yeah.
10, 12 years ago.
Nice. I have a couple friends who hunt. I know someone in South Carolina and someone in North Carolina. It's definitely like I feel like whitetail hunting is the thing there. And I think I mentioned this like last time when I was talking with James and Bree, like being from Texas, whitetail hunting's big, but it's very different in that it's usually on private land, it's on someone's property, it's very like catered to, it's usually from a feeder, like very different style of whitetail hunting than what you do, I feel like, on all of the East Coast, where like you are maybe it is sometimes on private land, but you've created some sort of plot. You've had to really get to know this specific land or this specific area to even be able to come close enough to one. And it's not like you have a feeder up every single time you go out and you just know by clockwork where these deer are going to be. And that made me have so much more of a respect for whitetail hunting when I learned like that's how it was out that way. Because being in Texas, when it was like, oh, you know, it's like clockwork when these deer are showing up, like, this is weird to me.
Yeah,
This is not,
and I
not
mean,
weird. It's just not challenging. Like,
Yeah, that's what I feel like. You know, even when you watch the show, like shows on TV and whatnot, and you're just kind of watching those critical moments where they shoot something from their tree stand or whatnot. Like Brittany can talk to it more because she's done, obviously been in Florida longer now, so way more hunting there than I have. But that's the part you see on TV. But like what you don't see is all of, you know, even not just like if you have private land that you've like worked to set up this food plot and things like that, but like the public land side of it in on the East Coast for whitetail, especially Florida with like marshland,
mm-hmm.
sea ticks. Just I mean, like the amount of scouting, I guess, is what I'm trying to say that goes into finding whitetail in the East Coast. So vast, like it's hard, but just you can't even compare the two, West versus East Coast, and like what goes into finding whitetail deer and where to hang a tree stand on public land on the East Coast versus what you do out here or like private land, high fence whitetail hunting in Texas. Like that's different things.
Brittany, do you hunt mostly public land in Florida?
Yeah. I would say there's different elements to everything that Brianna mentioned. I can't speak to Texas hunting at all. I've never been to the state, although I would like to come out there and do some sandhill crane stuff. It's like a bit, it's an obvious
I've heard
no.
that's like the filet mignon of the sky.
That is what I have also heard, and it's
like it actually tastes good, or
it's one of the best steak meats, the red meats from a bird that you'll ever taste. Rumor has it, I've never tried
it's
one.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
So it's obviously very illegal in Florida. They're a non-migratory bird in Florida. I think I could be speaking wrong, but I think that is correct. And they mate for life, and so you can't hunt sandhill cranes in Florida. So that's kind of like if I'm going to go to Texas to check an item off my list, it's going to be sandhill cranes. But
I can't zebra, but she wants to hunt a sandhill crane.
Right.
All right.
It's a fair hunt.
You probably kill water buffalo in Texas, but I want to come and kill birds.
I thought you were going to say axis. Most people say axis in Texas.
Actually, I want to check
animal.
axis off in Hawaii. That's like a separate bucket list, like honeymoon hunt type thing.
Yeah, same.
And so I can't speak to whitetail in Texas, and I can't speak to the backcountry elk and mule deer hunting of the West and the Midwest. So I'm not saying in any means that hunting public land in Florida is harder than those things. I just, in speaking to people about elk hunting and mule deer hunting and stalking, obviously I think there's a huge element to that is entirely more difficult, dealing with elevation and dealing with the mileage that you have to put on in the Midwest and the West. I get that. But in Florida, on public land, not knocking private land at all. We hunt a little bit of private land as well. We were successful on private land this year. It helped fill the freezer. I think there's different elements to that. All the hard work that goes into, and the cost that goes into making sure your feeders are full, making sure that they're always going off the right time, building your feed plots, working your food plots. And so there's an element of that seeing success after all of that hard work is its own version of payoff. But on public lands, you're right. On public land, it's just a different type of work. It's learning the topography, learning certain years acorns drop better than others, and they grow better in certain places than others. Water is a huge key ticket in Florida. Just it's so hot, and obviously deer need to drink just the same as everything else. Water is a big key ticket. It just kind of really sucks to have to hunt in water and walk through water. Alligators are a real thing, and they are,
and water moccasins.
Yeah,
and
they're everywhere.
Rattlesnakes.
So
and sea ticks and mosquitoes and banana spiders and clearly
banana spiders. That sounds like my worst nightmare.
Yes, it is. They got little daggers for their legs, but their legs are like this long. The whole freaking spider's like this big, no joke. I threw my shotgun one year in the woods. Threw it. Launched a shotgun. Was lucky I didn't, make it go off because a banana spider walked through a web, and they're like sticky. I thought that banana spider was on me, and when I went back and got my shotgun, it was on the freaking gun, and I got lost it.
They're terrifying looking, but they're honestly like.
I want spiders. I fear nothing but spiders. And if it's like maybe a smaller one, I'm kind of okay. I just am like a little scream, and then I just kill the damn thing because I'm not saving a spider, that's for sure. But if it is, you said it's like this big, no, I'm running for my dear life. I hate spiders.
A lot of the times when people are scouting in Florida, you'll see them, you'll see it in videos sometimes if it makes the cut or whatever. But if you'll pick up a stick and when you walk through the woods, you're constantly
1,000%.
making this motion, and it's just to catch the spider webs.
I mean, they're massive webs. Like, I'm talking like this big span between trees is their spider web. And it's like, imagine Spider-Man and his sticky web. The entire web is sticky. I'm not a fan of Florida.
Remember last time when I said I want to go hunting in Florida? Count me out. I don't want to go anymore. I'm no longer interested. Oh my god.
It's just a different type of experience walking through public land in Florida.
Walking through any land in Florida. Yeah.
I feel like I'd have to have, those the beehive costumes that people wear so they don't get stung by bees. I'd have
That's probably the smartest thing they could hunt in. If someone invented that in camo in Florida, you'd probably make a lot of money just to avoid the mosquitoes in the early season.
Oh, mosquitoes. Oh god.
You do not hunt without your
thermocell.
Your thermocell. I turn mine on the walk in. It tells you
you're
supposed to.
You guys not have mosquitoes out here?
No. Dave's shaking his head yes, but I'm
again, mind blown.
I might see one mosquito every 2 months out here. I feel like I don't see mosquitoes.
They don't thrive in I mean, I'm at higher elevation, so here either, but dry environments too. They love the wet, sticky environments. In Texas, they're everywhere. Or Florida, same. It's a humid, wet environment. They love that kind of environment.
Yeah, you could sit all night and not have any mosquitoes, and the second that sun goes down, you're going to be swarmed by thousands of mosquitoes. It's just a thing that you learn to cope with. The hunters before thermocells, the dads and grandpas and great grandpas from that time, props to them because
thick skin.
True, that has to be where that statement came from.
A lot of malaria.
Have you also gator hunted? We talked about that with Brie last time when she was on here. Have you done that?
Yes. And Brianna's been with me gator hunting, and I actually went on, I think it was end of September. It wasn't through, so I'm a member of American Daughters of Conservation, and which sounds like more hoity-toity than it is. It is truly just like a down-to-earth group of women. I think we've got 14 chapters in 14 states, and it's basically for women wanting the opportunity to get out and meet other women and hunt with other women and learn from women, and then also a huge focus on conservation and land conservation and wildlife conservation. And then there's Artemis. Most people have heard of Artemis. Sometimes people haven't heard of American Daughters of Conservation, but a lot of people have heard of Artemis Sportswomen. And our Florida chapter did a gator hunt in September for first-time gator hunters. And then if you've harvested before, you can come and aid other women in trying to harvest gators. So we had 3 women who offered up their tags and 3 boats. It was all women, female boat drivers, women, 3 women who have never harvested a gator before. And we ended up filling, I think, 5 of 6 tags, which is pretty good. We didn't kill monsters. We didn't kill 10, 11 footers, but everybody harvested something that they were proud of because they put in all the work, and it was all women helping them learn how to do it. And I'm not saying that I learned hunt from a guy. I'm not saying that men can't teach women things, but some people it's just more comfortable for them. So yeah, I love gator hunting. I think to each their own. Some people it just does not sound like exciting.
It is on my list for sure. I could put down a little like tiny gator and I'd be stoked.
Yeah, my adrenaline was still pumping when she harvested this 7-foot gator. It's just something, I don't know how to explain it. Once you get an animal on the side of the road, like on the side of the boat that weighs, several hundred pounds.
They get on the side of the boat and like they're just sitting there fighting. It's like fighting like deep sea fishing, like trying to get this thing tired until it finally surfaces.
Yeah, and there's all different types of like ways that people do it, but it's really one of the most exciting types of hunts. And I think that's something I really like about Florida is all the versatility. We may not have big giant elk, and you may not be able to hunt mule deer or any elk or any mule deer, but the versatility between the fishing and the hunting is uncomparable to a lot of places.
Like how you can just mix and you can do it in the West too, but like how you can mix the two, like you don't have to just be fishing with a fishing pole. Like you can go bow fishing, literally spear fishing. Yeah. Like there's just so much in Florida.
But it's also, I think that's what I've noticed the biggest difference between like Western style hunting and then hunting on the East Coast is most states, and to include Texas too. I know it's not East Coast, but and correct me if I'm wrong, if Florida isn't this way, but you get multiple whitetail tags in a season. Whereas most Western style hunts, you get that one tag and that one opportunity and you're done for the season. And it's so nice to have multiple tags because you can go out multiple times in the season and you can be out there for 3-4 months at a time. Whereas
I don't know what the tag system is like over here. I don't quite understand it.
It's so
but
different.
In Florida, you get you get 5 tags. And so X amount are allowed to be bucks, X amount are allowed to be does. One of those can be, if it's under 5 inches, that's going to count as your doe tag. Yeah. And then every state in the Southeast is a little bit different. I don't know the exact number in Georgia. I know I've only hunted hogs there. I know in Alabama, you're allowed 10 tags.
That's what I've heard.
It's crazy. It's absolutely. And those are permitted to you just by buying your hunting license. You have to buy the appropriate license.
What's the whole like a deer a day thing in Florida?
So there's regulations. She asked like, what's a deer a day? So there are regulations just like anything. Like turkey hunting in Florida, you're permitted 2 turkeys for the year, but you can only kill 1 per day. And then once you tag out 2 turkeys, you're done for your season. So if you kill 1 turkey on the first Saturday and opening weekend and 1 turkey on Sunday and opening weekend, you are tagged out for the whole season. Yeah, you're done. And it's the same with deer. You've got your 5 tags, but you can only kill 1 per day. And every WMA has a little bit different regulation. So even though you have doe tags in Florida, if at certain wildlife management areas, they don't permit shooting does. So the state regulations sometimes are different depending on the wildlife. State regulations are always the same, but the wildlife management areas can be different. And most of the time they say abide by the state regulations. They have to have 3 on a side, they have to have a 10-inch main beam, and yeah.
So I have a question. I'm not the host here, but I do, because I don't even apparently know my own state now anymore. So you get 5 a day in Florida, or not? Sorry, not 5 a day. You get 5 total, like just as like you put in, you get your tag, like per the state, you get 5. You know, X amount of bucks, X amount of does. But in Florida, we have, you kept saying it, WMAs are wildlife management areas, which are not common out here. I don't even know if they are in like Midwest, but in the East they are. So say like we went to Seminole, I drew, because there are also tags you have to draw in Florida too, like you put in for them, like how we do Arizona or whatnot, or if you're a resident, I guess, or elk tags or whatever. So say I draw Seminole Wildlife Management. Does, if I were to harvest a buck in Seminole WMA, does that count as one of my 5, or is that separate?
No, that counts as one of your tags for the year.
Okay.
You just harvest it on a wildlife management area, and every wildlife management area has a biologist, a Florida Wildlife Commission's biologist, and so they kind of help determine what the tag limit or permit limit is on their wildlife management area. So some give out the quota, right? Some give out 30 quota permits for their season, for their archery season. Others give out 75 permits per day. So it just depends on the unit, that particular unit, and the biologist overseeing it, and they kind of determine what's best for their unit.
Yeah, I've heard Elizabeth talk about the WMA. She's in Virginia, and when I was up there, we went shed hunting on one of them. And that was the first time I had ever heard of what that was. And then she had mentioned, like, last year she didn't harvest a deer at all, and she was like, just multiple times she was on a WMA, and whichever one she was on had antler restrictions, and so she was like, the ones that I was seeing, I just couldn't shoot because of the antler restrictions of that WMA. And yeah, that was the first time I had ever heard of this. Do you ever go shed hunting?
Not in Florida. I mean, you're always, even though it's, when people think of Florida, they don't think of like this high deer density population. And so with that, it's not like every corner you walk around, you're going to find a shed. So you always have your eyes open, and it's kind of like a little coveted piece of gold if you find one in Florida. It doesn't matter if it's been gnawed on for 3 years by squirrels and now it's this big. Like, you're taking it home, you're putting it on the mantle, you just found a little piece of treasure. So I've never been shed hunting in Florida. We're always looking for them. We trained one of our dogs on sheds, antlers, and the idea that we would take them someplace, and now I'm kind of like, well, what if they get bit by a snake? And now
a banana spider,
or a spider. So we haven't taken them, but no, I've never been exclusively shed hunting. It's something I would love to do, maybe someplace out in the West where your odds maybe are better.
Not California.
Not California either. Yeah. So no, I have found sheds in Kentucky, and went turkey hunting actually, and then in Mississippi deer hunting. So I've stumbled on sheds. I've found sheds, but I've watched other people find sheds, but yeah.
Yeah, that's something I debate whether or not I want to get into it. I think it is very good because it can help you better know the area, especially if you're doing it in the area you plan to hunt during season. So like out here, I found like a couple areas that are public land, and I'm like, all right, maybe over the summer I shed hunt a little bit. If for no other reason, I'll call it shed hunting, but I'm actually out there just like getting to know the land better. If I find something with the shed hunt, if I don't find anything, I was just out there taking intel. Nobody else.
Yeah, that's a big reason I want to get into small game hunting down here, from like February through March until turkey season opens, and then that's all we're doing. But is to the opportunity to drive in also to some places that don't allow driving, that you can drive in during small game season, and then the opportunity to just kind of learn things better that you maybe didn't have time to scout during the summer. And also it gives you a better idea where you want to go during the summer before hunting season opens.
Yeah, I shot a porcupine in Texas, and I told James I'm going to be a small game hunter only from now on.
Heck yeah. When he showed me that picture of your porcupine, I was like, what? You mean I could have shot the porcupine in Utah?
I'm getting it mounted, and that
Heck
is going to be
yeah.
like my best mount for the rest of my life.
I don't know if I've ever even seen a picture of a porcupine mount.
Well, me neither. That's the first time I've ever seen one in my entire life, and
Did
we
you
like
bring it
I'd
to the
actually,
experience yet?
yeah, it's there. How is it going to
What
work?
did they say when you brought up porcupine?
Just like jaw dropped, but it's not the first time that they've done it, so
That's
we'll
at
see.
least good. But I was like, man, I wonder how often, like a taxidermist sees someone
Gets
bring
one.
a porcupine in, or
Yeah. I had gone out there obviously for whitetail hunting. I ended up putting a small doe down. But the last day we were like, it's been raining all this time. We haven't really seen any deer. We're like, we're just gonna kind of foot chase some hogs. And we come up on that porcupine, and I was with Nyla actually. We were on like her family's property. And I look at her, Nyla, can I shoot this please? Like, I've like not had any luck this entire time. Can I shoot something? And she was like, hell yeah, it's a predator. Like, it eats the turkeys. Like, get after it. So sure enough, I put a little, like, I literally stalked up on this little porcupine. And I'm like, how many people can say they did a stalk on a fucking porcupine?
I told him, like, after we did that bunny hunt in the yard and whatnot, and we saw the porcupine in Utah. We saw white snowshoe hare in Utah. Actually, like a family. I don't know what you call a group of rabbits.
A group of rabbits.
Yeah, I don't know, but a whole bunch of snowshoe hares, and I was like, I am shooting small game from now on. I will double check that it's legal, but I am doing it. Like, one, rabbit tastes really good. Quail tastes really good. What's the word? The one you shot? Not a pheasant. A grouse.
Oh yeah, grouse are popular. There's high density of them out this way too.
And it helps you when it's not, like you're not stalking big game, so you still learn how to stalk and hunt just small animals.
Yeah, I'm all for it. And honestly, I'm not even gonna look it up first. I'm just gonna shoot and suffer the consequences.
Cut.
I'm gonna end it, and then we can talk about this. So I end every episode. Bree has answered this. If you want to answer it again, you can. If not, we'll let Brittnie answer it. I end every episode with, what does wild strength mean to you? That can be, you can take it literally, like you can talk about strength. I don't know. I think you've posted about working out before, so you can talk about working out, or you can take it not so literally and take it like a mental health route, or you can talk about just hunting period, however you want to take it. But like, what does wild strength mean to you, or how do you display like wild strength in your life?
You want to take it since you've answered it before?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I've already answered this.
I would say I'm 100% on the mental health side of that. I go in and out of spurts between really focusing on my fitness and then kind of seasons of like just being comfortable with where I'm at until I decide to enter back into that season of fitness and health. And I think all of that mostly has to do with mental health. So when it comes to hunting or fitness, either one, if I think of it as like almost therapy, but there's so many times that I just want to quit, and it's just being mentally strong in order to keep going when you're getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, or that you've got to walk through waist deep water to get to your stand, or even thigh deep water to get to your stand. Like the amount of mental strength it takes to like build the courage to do that. The number of times that I forget my SD cards or the batteries for my cameras for self-filming, and I'm just like, I quit. I'm over this. I'm done. Or something goes wrong trying to, do my setup, a stick, or I drop a stick halfway up or whatever, and you're just ready to be done. But then, like, once I'm in that stand and the sun is breaking and the temperature is changing, and it's just like, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be. And so I think for me, I lean 100% on the mental health side of it. If I'm not mentally where I need to be, I'm not performing the best that I can. And it just takes a lot of courage, a lot of, you can just do this to keep going. I think that's a big reason why I support so many of the, like, anytime somebody asks me about how do you get into hunting, or what if I want to get into hunting a little more, and I always tell them to go back to check out American Daughters of Conservation, or to check out Artemis, or to check out Prois, is just because of that sisterhood that it has. Everybody is cheerleading everybody, and not in like a yay hurrah you did it. It's like sometimes you just gotta suck it up and get out there and keep going. So
I love that.
there's a few of each of those types of women in these groups, and that's where I'm at with that
Wild strength.
with Wild Strength. Yeah.
No, I
How
love
have I
that.
displayed Wild Strength?
Oh goodness. Hi, Alfie. And if
Yeah,
people want to
I
find
think
you,
I answered that, like, in that other answer also.
no,
But
yeah, no, that was perfect. I think that was a great answer. If people want to find you on social media, Instagram, whatever, where can they find you?
yeah, you can find me pretty much on all of those as Brittnie_Curley. I've thought about changing it and just telling people it's Brittnie_Curley, because most people don't think to spell my name the way it is, Brittnie. So Brittnie Curley at on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on everything.
Or YouTube, Archery Shepherds.
Oh yeah, you can also find our content at Archery Shepherds. It's on YouTube and on Instagram. I don't do Archery Shepherds TikTok and Facebook and stuff. It's just me, and so that's myself and my boyfriend. He's a bow tech at Adventures Archery in Lakeland. So that's our main shop. And you can find all of our film stuff and archery related content on that side of things there as well.
Perfect.